Welcome to Let's Get Healthy on Talk 1370. Brought to you by People's RX, Austin's favorite pharmacy.
Good morning. This is Dr. Marianne Calvanese, and I'm joined by my co-host.
Hi, Dr. Tess Strickland here.
So we're delighted to be with you here this morning, and we've got a very interesting show today. We have Tom Spooner, who's going to join us here in a few minutes. He is co-founder of the Warrior's Heart and Foundation, and he's a very interesting man. I'm looking forward to speaking with him. He's a former Special Forces person.
Yeah, we don't know military.
We don't know
military lingo very well, but he's former Special Forces, which sounds very important.
Serious. Yeah, very heavy duty. He was Green Beret in the U.S. Army, and he's retired. And he had PTSD and traumatic brain injury, and now he is working with all kinds of people who even firefighters and law enforcement people, and active duty military veterans.
So needed.
And he's working with them and has all kinds of interesting programs, inpatient, outpatient, treating addictions. Anyway, we'll be speaking with him in a few minutes here. So we have Mr. Spooner on the line.
Hello, Dr. Strickland. Yeah, this is Tom Spooner. I'm here.
Hi, Tom. This is Dr. Marianne. Welcome.
Hi, Dr. Marianne.
And Tom, so I understand you had been in the U.S. Army for 21 years, and you ultimately ended up in the Special Forces. And
right.
So you want to tell us a little bit about your career and how you came upon co-founding the Warrior's Heart.
Absolutely. And first of all, thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate the time that you're giving us. So
Sure.
My military career began in 1990. I joined the military and I went into the 82nd Airborne Division, and I went straight to the Gulf War. So I went from the street straight into the Gulf War, and it had a big impact on me as far as the rest of my military career. So I spent 5 years in the 82nd, and from 90 to 95, and then from 96 to 2001, I was in 7th Special Forces Group, all pre-9/11. We deployed to Central and South America, mainly training those countries' military. And then in September of 2001, I went out to Delta Selection and made it, and I was an operator out at Delta from 2001 until 2011. Over my whole career, I had 12 deployments.
Wow.
I had a total of 40 months in combat, and then I retired in 2011.
So tell us how that affected you, and then how I'm sure that led to you, seeking help and possibly then moving into helping others through Warrior's Heart. And tell us about that.
Okay, yeah. So through my career, overall is and it plays into the Warrior's Heart piece of it. But I struggled with alcoholism at an early age. So I got sober in 92. So and remained there sober, all the way to today. And so that wasn't a factor in all the troubles that I had near the end of my career, which was wonderful. I didn't have that variable to mess with, the self-medication and the chemical dependencies. But at the end of my career, I tanked out pretty hard, meaning that I had a lot of PTSD from all that was going on, and I just refer to that as unprocessed trauma. Different things that I experienced that really bothered me. Anyone that goes to war experiences those kind of things to some degree. And the other thing that I had going on in 2006, I got a mild traumatic brain injury, which affected me greatly also. So there at the end of my career, whenever I was getting out, I ended up getting medically retired, even though I had over 20 years in the service for my PTSD, my traumatic brain injury, and some other injuries that I had. And there at the end, for me, it was before I received all the wonderful therapies that I got. I was even suicidal at that time. And it wasn't because I wanted to kill myself. It was because I needed to stop the noise that was going on between my ears. And so I was in a pretty rough spot. And what drove me into getting help was one of my best friends, another warrior, that's just kept pushing me to get help. And I finally did. So my process was I ended up having to go to cognitive therapy, vestibular therapy, psychological therapy. I even had to get on meds there for about 6 months. So I just immersed myself into getting better for me and my family. And the thing is that it all worked because I was putting a lot of the work in. And then all the troubles that I was experiencing, I just couldn't imagine other soldiers, or anyone in the military or that population, struggling that kind of way without any help. And so that's what drove me. I lived a life of service, and I serve still today. And so that was my motivation, my own experiences and surviving those. And I wanted to pass that on to those that were still out there suffering. So that's where Warrior's Heart, comes into play.
Now, so tell us a little bit about, what you do at Warrior's Heart and, who you serve and how it's different from what maybe the VA offers.
Okay, absolutely, would love to. So first of all, the population that we serve out at Warrior's Heart is break it down into basically those that face life and death as a profession on a daily basis. So our population out there is active duty military, military veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and all first responders. So we really kept the population to just that. And it's the only one in the nation that serves just that population.
Wow.
So we're really proud about that aspect of it. And one of the main reasons, well, there's many reasons, but the first reason that we did that is, these folks that we treat out at Warrior's Heart, they're the ones that take care of us. From 9/11 to a 911 call, these are the folks that are us and our families when in our hours of just greatest emergency, they're the ones we call and they come and they help us. And so then through the job, they experience a lot of things, and next thing you know, they're the ones needing some help, and it's, okay, well, who's helping them?
Right.
And the answer usually is usually no one. I mean, they're either trying to take care of themselves through their own organizations, but, as a community, as a nation, it's our responsibility to take care of them in their hours of greatest needs. That's our belief. And so that's what we do out there. And so that gives the one thing that we all know as humans is the most powerful element, and that's the peer-to-peer network. There's no pressure like peer pressure in a good way, though.
Yeah.
So that sums up the population that's there, because it would be very difficult for, even though everyone that's out there is trying to do the same thing and better their lives and engage in life, it's much different. Say if you had a soldier sitting across from a business CEO, or a law enforcement officer sitting across from a drug dealer. Even though they may have to do the same things, you could see how the connection just wouldn't be there. So that's one of the most powerful things that we have with the population is we having that peer-to-peer network.
Yeah, that's great, because it's a unique life situation to, on a daily or on a regular basis, deal with life and death. And
absolutely.
See things that normally people don't see. And that affects us, like, deeply, physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything. So
It's absolutely life-changing.
Yeah. So to have that peer-to-peer connection and that resonance of similarity of experiences is, I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I saw that you not only serve them psychologically, but also medically. Can you talk a little bit about how your program deals with both aspects?
Sure. Yeah, so with that population, being pretty much, like-minded, they've all either been to a basic training, they've all been to some kind of academy, so there's a familiarity with, kind of that flow of things. And so what we know is that we treat the whole person out at Warrior's Heart. And what I mean by that is that, whenever it comes to unprocessed trauma and alcoholism and drug abuse, there's what is it, the chicken or the egg? Is it the trauma that's driving the drinking and the use, or is it the use that brings up the trauma, right? So you can't, in most of the facilities and most of the things that are going out there for treatment in this population, it's very segmented. It's like, hey, go over here for your PTSD, go over here for your chemical dependencies, and it just doesn't work as efficiently. So out there, we treat both. We have a primary diagnosis of chemical dependencies and self-medication, and then, we also treat the PTSD and the mild TBI. So we treat both of those at the same time. That's one of the things that makes us, very different between, when we have our one-on-one counselors that are out there, they'll have one-on-ones with the chemical dependency counselors, and then one-on-ones also with the psychology-focused counselors. So we hit them both along the way, and we have a minimum stay is 42 days as far as the program when they come in. So that gives us just enough time to give them a good, solid foundation in both of those areas, so then we can produce sober, confident warriors that can get right back into living and back into life and on the job and all those things.
Wow, that is fantastic. It's really a holistic program, and not segmenting a person into different places for treatment, I think, is so powerful, because one feels more known when it's all in one place and it's integrated together. So that sounds like a fantastic program.
It definitely is. And that a lot of that came from, because when I was going through my own personal healing processes, that's what I was having to do. I would have to go to one place for my cognitive therapy, another place for psychological therapy, and meanwhile I have brain damage, so I'm having to put in my GPS how to get around, it makes it additionally hard.
Sure.
Yeah.
So can you talk to us at all about outcomes? Like, do you have any, how long has this program been going on, and do you have any statistics now on how well it's working once a patient, I don't know what you call, do you call them a patient or a client? A patient is out into the world?
Yep, so we call them clients, because
clients.
That population doesn't like the patients because they're used to treating patients, but it's so we've been alive. I was going to say we've been alive. We have been licensed for this April makes 2 years. So we've had clients coming in now into Bandera at Warrior's Heart for 2 years. We have just over 300 that have come through during that time, and and whenever it comes to the statistics, there's a lot of different ones that are out there. So we could say, hey, 60% of our people that come through get sober, stay sober, and live happily ever after. But that number could be skewed, and he's only been doing it for 30 days. So our statistics that we do have is roughly, it's about 60%, that fall into that piece. The big statistic that we have is that, and it's one of the most amazing, like I said, I've been in the recovery field for 25 years also, and the one statistic that we have that is just amazing to me is we always get 100% callback. And what I mean by that is that, whenever our folks come out there to us, they get trained up, healed up, and then they go back out into the world. sometimes, depending on how much they've, everybody comes in at a different spot in their lives. Some of them are completely willing and ready to just go full bore in this new way of life, and some just aren't yet. And so what happens with some is that they end up having what we call a relapse, where they'll either start drinking or using again. And like I said, the amazing statistic is that they immediately call back. And the reason why that's amazing is because most of the time when alcoholics or addicts relapse, you won't hear from them, for months. And if they don't die while they're out there, then eventually you hear from them. And so what that speaks for us is just volumes that, that they know that there's no judgment out there and they're only loved, and the only thing we want from them is to get better. So that's our big, proud statistic that we stand on. And like I said, just for me personally, it's it's unheard of. And
that's significant, because they recognize there's something in them that recognizes that there is help there. Real help.
Real help and no judgment, you know what I mean? And the only thing that we want from them is to get better, and because we've had folks that have, since that our first ones that came out there, we have some of those that are still sober. So they're almost 2 years sober now and back on the job, whether they were in law enforcement or firefighter or active duty military. And then, and then folks all the way in between. So we're very proud of what we're doing, and it's very effective.
Wow. So Tom, if somebody is listening right now and knows somebody in need of help or needs help themselves, I know the first question they're asking is, how am I going to afford this? Can you talk about how people pay for this? Or
Absolutely. Yeah. So how people pay for this is the obvious one is like, hey, with cash pay. Then the next thing that we have is we take insurances, and we're out of network with TRICARE, but we also do TRICARE, which is the governmental insurance, and we also take all their commercial insurances. And then the third thing is we have scholarships from friends that we have in the nonprofit world and through our own foundation, the Warriors Heart Foundation, because this population, number one, doesn't make a lot of money. So, and then if you look at the folks that are coming to us, a lot of times, they've burned through a lot of money, a lot of relationships. It's not a real pretty story. So usually how this is paid for is a combination of all those things. We think it best, it is best if the warrior that's coming out has a little skin in the game, where they're invested in themselves, whether that's $500 or more. It doesn't really matter. It's some investment, but the rest of it is that it's usually a hybrid where some of it's paid by insurance if they have it, but we've also had folks come in on full scholarships, that don't have anything. And so those are the methods that we use. And another proud thing that we have is that we've never had to turn someone away because they didn't have the money.
Wow.
So now it may have taken me and our team 7 or 8 days to piece it all together through amazing American private donors, and the different organizations that we're affiliated with. But we're really proud to know. Our big goal is that, the money is never even a conversation whenever it comes to treating these warriors. Unfortunately, we're just not there yet, where we rely on others to help us with that and through our foundation. But we get it done.
Yeah, and I just want to put a plug in, people can go to warriorsheart.com and you can donate. You can donate to support your organization. So just wanted to put a little plug in there.
And also to find out about the program, find out more, and the phone number to call and all of that, warriorsheart.com. Tom, anything last words before we have to go?
I did a lot of talking. I don't even remember what all I said.
It's okay. You said it all. It's a great program, and we really appreciate the work you're doing.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for your service in all these different ways. With the military, and now with supporting people in their healing. from their service. And so thank you
Right.
for your service on multiple levels.
You're absolutely welcome, and it was my pleasure and still is my pleasure to serve. And just thank you for having me on the show, and we'll look forward to any follow-ups if you'd like us to have us on the show another time, too. But I really appreciate and grateful that you would have us on your show.
Absolutely. Yeah, Tom, we'll definitely have you back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
We want to hear more as your program develops and ages. We'll want to hear more about it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. You have a great day, Tom.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.